Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And it's right and good for me, again, to emphasize what John said, just to say thank you to John and to Pete and to Foster and to Ed, and as well as our team that are receiving you in the lobby. I get the microphone and just to yap my gums a little bit, but they're doing all the work, and I'm grateful for that. And it is a great privilege for Stonebriar to host this for the decade plus that we've been doing this. It is a right and good thing to use our resources to support each and every one of you and all that have come through here through the years. And I consider it as John said, a truly great privilege just to come and say a few words before you and pray for this morning. So I will ask, though, before that you extend just a bit of grace. I'm having some contact difficulties, so if I'm kind of focused down like this, it's because I can't quite see at this point, so we'll give it the best shot. One of my most treasured scriptures is Romans 5, 3, and 4. And essentially, it talks about going from from trials right to hope. The scripture talks about a pathway in between that, and it uses terms like perseverance and endurance. In psychology, we use the term resilience, and it describes the same behavior. Whichever discipline you're using, the behavior is how do you handle hard times? So when trials come, perseverance, endurance, or resilience are effectively saying, how do you handle hard times? Let me give you the definition that we use for resilience. The capacity to prepare for disruptions, recover from shocks and stresses, and adapt and grow from a disruptive experience. A quality of internal stability, awareness, and flexibility that supports a person facing difficult challenges to navigate in a way that reduces long-term detrimental effects. This definition reveals what I call the oak tree principle. And that is simply, the deeper the roots, the harder the storm has to blow to uproot it. It also reveals the converse. The shallow the storm, the shallow the roots, the weaker the storm to be able to uproot it. The oak tree principle reveals the oak tree truth, right? When's the best time to plant an oak tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? And that's today. And that's today. Some of you today are sitting here and you've planted and then developed deep roots. And the storm that's blowing for you as you sit here today has not uprooted you. And I simply say amen to that. Well done. Well done. Give gratitude to those who've helped you along the way to plant those deep roots. For some of you, though, you haven't planted those deep roots, and the blowing of the storm that's happening feels like it's got you uprooted by the very roots, and you're about to roll away. So today is a good time to maybe start developing those roots, planting a tree. So what are some of those that we call the root behaviors? And in no particular order, and I have no time to unpack them, but I just want you to listen to perhaps some of the behaviors that would begin to drive deep roots so that whenever storms come, you blow, but you're not uprooted. Those behaviors are, maybe it's skill building, part of why you're here. Maybe it's a network development. It's part of why you're here. Those that have deeper roots have got skills, and they've got some people. Again, in no particular orders. Maybe some of the deep roots are what I call life priorities aligned right. Life priorities aligned right. That helps you drive deep roots. Deep roots from personal health. Are you healthy? Do you exercise? Do you eat right? Do you see physicians appropriately? Relational health drives deep roots. Financial health, not wealth, drives deep roots. Realizing that the balance of wanting, of having, how do I say this correctly? Of wanting what you have and not necessarily having what you want. And being able to have that kind of financial health, that I am where I am, and I've got it balanced. And I'm not spending my life wanting things. Those drive deep roots. There's a contentment, there's a serenity when you find that balance. Life perspective and life purpose and direction and meaning. No matter what you do, necessarily shouldn't be defining your purpose and meaning. It's who you are on the inside. Those drive deep roots. So when a storm blows, it blows, but it doesn't uproot. Emotional regulation simply means that you have a balance, that you have a full spectrum of emotions, but those emotions don't drive you. But you feel them and you experience them, but they aren't necessarily the things that are pulling you and driving you and leading you. A balance between anger and forgiveness. Healthy roots are knowing what triggers your anger and where you need to drop the rocks in your backpack and let go of some of that forgiveness. That perspective of knowing your triggers and not carrying extra weight of unforgiveness, those drive deep roots. And life balance, that's that ubiquitous thing that there's work and there's fun and there's play and there's solitude and there's community. Do you have those things in some semblance of order? And I could go on. But those are some of the things that will drive deep roots. And they can be planted today. And where I come from, faith, which I contend is where we should establish the deepest of roots, would be an important thing to be able to drop down. So I pray the takeaway from my little rambling here is almost simply binary, and that you give gratitude to the deep roots that you have, or you begin to develop deep in at least one of the areas that I spoke about here today, and that my rambling causes something to say, perhaps I need to plant my tree today and develop those deep roots. So allow me just to go back to the Bible verse that I started this with, which I think highlights these deep roots and puts one element that I want to make sure that you take away today. And like I said, it's Romans 5:3-5, and it goes like this. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us because he has given us his Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love. And people, I think it's his love is what we need more than ever. It is the hope that is missing from so many who profess faith, much less those that are still searching for their faith. And knowing that no earthly storm can never and will never be totally capable of uprooting you, because you have the assurance that you are loved and valued and treasured, and no earthly storm will fully uproot you. So those are the areas that I deeply hope that you begin to move and think about today. I know today will be a great day, and I'm grateful again that you took the time to come here. And those that are leading this today, you're going to walk away here from here saying that was a good investment in time. So let me bless. Father God, I just ask that you move mightily among this group. I don't know where each of these souls are here, but you do, and that's what matters. So Lord, I just ask your Holy Spirit to move in such a way that draws them closer to you, that maybe encourages them to plant deep roots in one of the areas that they've been thinking about. And maybe today it's time to plant that oak tree. Maybe it's time just to simply say and give gratitude to the deep roots that are already established. For Lord, there's a storm that blows in all of our lives, but you hold us together. And I'm so grateful for that. So Lord, be with all those who speak here today. Allow them to communicate what you would have them communicate to those that are gathered here today. And Lord, thank you for being able to host a meeting such as this. And we surrender everything to you. And we simply say amen and thank you. Amen. Thanks, guys. Hope you all have a good day.
Thank you, Steve. One thing I want to mention before I hand it over to Pete Hernandez and Foster Williams. To the veterans in the audience, I talked about Ed Menlick. Ed has to leave at 10:30, about an hour and 5 minutes from now. So if you want to touch base with Ed, just be aware that after 10:30, he won't be with us for the rest of the meeting. So just a footnote there. All right. Thank you so much, Steve. Here you go, Pete.
Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing this morning? I hope you all had a wonderful, blessed Easter. Glad you're here with us this morning. Sorry for the circumstances, but we've got a few minutes here before we bring Sarah up here as our featured speaker. So let me go run through a few things for us. Speaking of leaving early, Heidi Torres. Heidi, raise your hand. HR Heidi, for those who know her. She brought us a bunch of jobs this morning. So, and she can only be here in five more minutes, thereabouts. She got another appointment. So I'm telling you right now, she works for Mastery Prep. Mastery is master with a Y at the end of it, Prep. And she's got several roles here. And if I can read the nice 6-point font she brought me. Let's see. These are W-2s unless I state otherwise. So we have a back-end software engineer, a business development associate, a content developer, a front-end software engineer, professional development presenter, a professional development presenter again. Oh, that one, excuse me, the first one was in Atlanta, second one's in Nashville, and then 2 contract roles. This one, professional development presenter, there's a 1099 role. She's got 20 of those. So keep that in mind. And another 1099 role, a social sciences content editor, 8 of those. So if any of those pique your interest, you can either connect with Heidi real quick before she takes off, or I have several of these sheets with me. You can come by and get one from me, and I'll be happy to give it to you, and then you can go to Mastery Prep and apply online. So we have some dignitaries in the audience, people who help. They're part of this network, and they help job seekers, so I want to name them real quick before we get Sarah up there. Jeff Morris, the creator of Career DFW and Career USA, on the back over there. When I was in a job search, I always called that either the Bible or Yellow Pages for a job seeker, so definitely go by there. Ron Layton, who runs our pit crew, our practice interview team. And I get a lot of people coming up to me during the week going, I have an interview tomorrow, I need help. Have you been to the pit crew? No, I haven't scheduled it. Don't wait until you need it. Get over there, schedule it. If anything, just go watch, but you can also schedule to be interviewed. And guess what? Once you go, at least once, whether in person or online, these guys also offer individual interview coaching. So it's a wealth of information, guys. I get out there and do it. Bob Ernst, where is our Navy pilot? He is now part of Edward Jones, financial advisor. But if you're interested in that field, talk to Bob. Otherwise, the man is connected. He can help you. He's been part of this network for what? At least 10 years, Bob, if not longer. So excellent part of this network. Trevor Houston is back there somewhere. Can't see the light. There he is back there. And if you guys just got laid off and you're confused as all get out, why Cobra, medical, what do I do now? Mike Chapman, health insurance agent, part of this network as well, been helping people for years. He's helped my family a lot as well. So any questions about any kind of health care, especially Cobra and all that, Cobra rules have changed this year. So definitely reach out to Mike, and he can help explain all this to you. Okay, that's all I got. We got 2 minutes.
Oh, I get it. 2 minutes? No, I see Sonia Lowry back there. You guys should know Sonia. And I'm Foster Williams, guys. And in case you don't know who the national championships in women's basketball is, in case you didn't know.
Wait. Let me also tell you, he's got a UT shirt he would have worn if UT had won. So.
Yeah, I'm a big UT fan, but they didn't accept me. I got rejected. Anyway, but yay, us. So is there any more Bruins in here? I hardly ever see any Bruins. There's a Bruin. Good, we got to talk. We definitely got to connect to talk. So, guys, the people that Pete was telling you about are wonderful. They make up this network, and it makes the strength of this network work. I'm real excited today to introduce Sarah to you guys. Sarah Jacob, not an S, just Jacob. I know how you get that all the time. And then Hadley and Sophie are with us as well. They are all part of Thomas Edwards Group. Now, I'm excited about them talking to you guys because Thomas Edwards Group is the biggest relationship that we have in this entire, all over the place, especially around here in Dallas-Fort Worth, of our job seeker network. So you guys get to know them. You're going to hear from them today. You're going to hear about how things work. All of us are recruiters, and we're going to be high-fiving each other and doing all kinds of stuff. But there is not a better presenter than Sarah. I'm nothing against Hadley. I love you, but that's not your thing. I understand. And so when she told me a while ago, she said, that's not my thing. So love you guys. And Sarah, we really love you for coming and addressing us. You got your help with you today, and you know I've got something to say here and there. So 2 minutes are probably up. So I'm going to shut up. Come on up here, Miss Sarah Jacob. No S, just Jacob. I like to make fun of Sarah because she went to A&M. Where's David Powell? There he is, right there. We got another A&Mer. The ladies are coming. And you guys know Pete. Y'all connect with Pete on LinkedIn. Pete Hernandez. This guy is the leader here. I'm just a dude that talks all kinds of stuff. Hey, is your thing working?
I don't know. Let's check.
Yep, it's working.
Good
Okay,
morning.
I'm getting out of the way. Go Bruins. And there you are.
All right. Good morning. Howdy. That's for my Aggies. All right, good morning. I'm Sarah Jacob. Nice to see everyone this morning. Glad you're all here. And I almost said happy Monday because usually when I present it's Monday, but today's Tuesday, so happy Tuesday. I will give you 30 seconds on me and my background, and then I'm going to let my lovely colleagues introduce themselves. I am an Aggie. I'm class of 97. Did the 5-year accounting program down at Texas A&M, and I started my career as a CPA at Arthur Andersen. Anybody remember them? Spent a few years as an auditor, and then I moved to KPMG when Andersen went under, and I spent 15 years there as a recruiting director. So figured out that I liked the people side of the business a little better than the crunchy accounting, and I have basically spent the last 25 years doing recruiting some way, shape, or form for accounting and finance. Got tired of traveling, wanted to spend a little more time with my children as they were getting a little older, and made my way to Thomas Edwards Group. So lucky to be with Thomas Edwards Group. It's a fantastic boutique recruiting firm. So we're going to talk a lot today about recruiters and how we're motivated and what makes us tick and all the positives and some of the negatives. But I have been here a little over 6 years and thrilled to be here today to help you guys as much as we possibly can. So nice to see everybody. Lots of familiar faces, but obviously some new faces as well. And I will let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Sophie. I am a Sooner. I haven't met any Sooners here today, but hopefully there's a few of you out there. I see a hand. There we go, Boomer. My dream was never to be an accountant, and I had no idea I would ever end up recruiting accountants, but I've now been with Thomas Edwards Group for over 3 years, coming up on 4 years, which is hard to believe, and I couldn't love it more. So great to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hadley Galt. Good morning to you all. I am also a Sooner, so
Yes.
boomer to all of you. And I am going on 30 years almost of recruiting. I know. Don't add it up. And I started my career at Robert Half and went over to Ernst & Young and was a recruiter for them for almost 9 years, and have been with Thomas Edwards Group now for almost 3. Feel free to connect with any of us on LinkedIn, and we're glad to be here and happy to help.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to lead most of today's presentation, but my fabulous colleagues are going to help us with a couple of slides that are very near and dear to their hearts because it's what they do day in and day out every day. So they will be kind of the subject matter experts on that. And let's get started, okay? We will have a little bit of time. Hopefully, we're going to plan on wrapping this part of it around 10:15, 10:20. So we've got a little bit of Q&A with all 3 of us. And then I'm actually going to be able to stick around for the break and help with Q&A after that. So write your questions down if we don't get to them, and we'll do our best to help answer anything you guys have that we can help with. Good? Okay, and here we go. So you guys all are in a job search, right? For one reason or another, it might have been your decision, it might not have been your decision, but you're in a job search, or you are thinking about a job search, and so we want to help you with that. As a part of being in a job search, networking is one of the critical things that you're going to do, and depending on your level, depending on how easily you fit into a box for a certain job description, or how not easy you fit into a box, or maybe you want to pivot into something new. Networking is going to be a very critical part of that, and how you network is going to be very critical. As you're thinking about your network and what does that mean, it's not just your Rolodex, and people laugh at me because some people don't know what a Rolodex is, but I do. So it's not just that everybody you know on your Rolodex or everybody you've ever connected with on your LinkedIn. When you're thinking about your job search network, you really want to get it organized. Who are those top, whatever the number is, 20 to 50 to 75 people that you've worked with, that you've worked for, that you've connected with along the way, that you enjoy? They enjoy you. You like spending time with them, perhaps. They understand your work product, right? They would want to help you. Those are the people that we're going to really focus on as a part of your job search network. We also want you to start communicating with them and connecting with them, or maybe reconnecting with them, right? Some of them maybe you haven't spoken with in 10 or 15 years, but if they called you, would you want to help them? Probably. So they assume that they're going to want to reciprocate and that they're going to want to help you. So who are you calling? That group? How often are you calling? It depends. How far along in your job search are you? If you're at the beginning, then maybe you're reaching out to people and you're trying to get them to connect for coffee or lunch or a phone call or a LinkedIn message to reconnect. Barbecue is a great one. Foster's always up for barbecue if you want to invite him along, I will tell you that. And as time goes by, perhaps they're busy, right? These are people in theory that are working, and so they might be busy. They might not answer you the first time. Don't get your feelings hurt. It typically does not mean that they don't want to speak with you. It just typically means that they're busy working, and so you might have to follow up once or twice. So you want to try to find them. You're going to talk to them often. So what does often mean? It just depends. Again, what stage of your job search are you in? Are you in the beginning? Or are you getting a little close to running out of benefits, running out of severance, running out of, what's in the savings account, and it's time to put the gas pedal down, right? So depending on where you are, you want to talk to them more often or get in front of them. A part of that networking is your networking groups, which clearly you're all here today, so you are, check a box on that one. You are getting involved. You are meeting new people. You are networking with different groups. That could be based on your industry. That could be based on your job title. That could be alumni groups, perhaps, right? I'm an Aggie. There's a ton of Aggie networking out there. So, thinking about those things outside of the box. There's an incredible group of websites, resources, programs for you guys between Frisco Connect and Career DFW. A million places to go find resources and networks, but you guys are doing that to be here. And what we're going to focus on today is really that last bullet. It's recruiters. So most of our conversation today is going to talk about recruiting agencies and what does that look like, because that's what's closest and kind of nearest and dearest to our hearts and what we do every day. But I will also try to answer questions to the extent that I can here and there about corporate recruiters. Just know that in general, they're lovely people and they're working really hard. So I know they ghost you. I know applicant tracking systems are terrible. I'm not here to solve that problem today. But we're mostly going to focus today on recruiting agencies and what does that mean, all right? Okay, recruiters, how do we work? We're really going to talk, kind of pull the curtain back and talk about some of the good, the bad, the ugly reality check of what it is that we do and why we do it, et cetera, to hopefully help you guys understand how to work best with recruiters that are at recruiting agencies, and maybe some of the pitfalls that aren't going to help you or them, okay? First thing we're going to talk about is retained versus contingent, okay? So depending on your level, retained recruiting might be an option for you. For most of you, contingent recruiting agencies are going to be an option for you, okay? Retained recruiters, let's talk about the model. So there's a client out there, there's a company out there. Let's say it's Frito-Lay, okay? Big company here in DFW, PepsiCo and Frito-Lay. They have a high-level CFO role, right? Well, they're not going to call us to fill that, right? They're going to call a retained recruiting firm. They're going to call one of the big corn fairies. You guys have heard of them, right? They're going to call one of them, and they're going to say, here's $100,000. Now, recruiter, I would like for you to go find the 2 or 3 people around the country that might be qualified for this job. Pull them out of wherever they're actually working, get them excited about talking to us, and that's how retained recruiters typically will work. The fee is paid up front as long as they are presenting qualified candidates for the hiring managers to interview. Then they have earned their fee whether or not anybody ever gets hired. Okay, so if you think about a retained recruiter, if you call them, if you email them, we talked about this yesterday at Sonia's executive networking group. If you call them, if you email them, if you network in with them, if you send them a LinkedIn message, if you do not fit that bucket that they are looking for today, if you're not one of those 3 people today, chances are they are not going to engage. They're not going to reply to you, most likely. They're motivated to find those 3 people that are in that search that they're working right now. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just helping you understand how they're motivated so you understand why they are or are not calling you back or engaging with you, okay? Sometimes you might have a friend who's worked with one of them and they say, hey, you need to meet my friend, and you get referred in. If you're a strong enough candidate that they think that they might be able to place at some point, they might call you back. And the relationship-based ones might, but most of them, and in general, they're not, because they're motivated to earn that fee, which means they're motivated to find just those 3 people that fit what they're looking for today, okay? So that's retained recruiters. Lovely people, but you just help understand why and how they're motivated. We are contingent recruiters. That's a totally different model. So contingent recruiting means we do not get paid unless we make a placement. A placement means one of our candidates, so someone that we know all about them, somebody that we know what motivates them, what's going to make them successful, what they're most excited about in their next role, we present that candidate to one of our clients. They go through this whole big process, which we're going to look at in a second, and if they get hired, then we earn a fee, okay? So that's how contingent recruiters, it's in the title, it's contingent. We don't get paid unless we make a placement. So what are we motivated by? Well, we're still motivated by making a placement, but for us, we also are motivated by building good relationships, because there's a much higher probability that we will have another job come through with another client in the timeline that might also fit in your job search. So we like to build relationships. We like to call you back. We like to get to know you. We like to ask all of those questions, because if we can't place you today, our goal is to help you in some way, shape, or form and hopefully place you 2 weeks from now. Maybe it's a month from now. We'll have a different client. because we have that many job orders working at the same time. There's two different models. There's the volume model and a relationship model. Volume model are recruiting firms, and again, none of them are bad. Everyone's trying to help get people jobs. But how are volume recruiters and volume contingent recruiters motivated? By volume. They are trying to place 500 people at one company at one time. So they are just trying to get candidates in and out and in and out and in and out and throw as many resumes over to the company as possible, hoping that something sticks, right? Remember the whole spaghetti on the wall thing? It's like that, right? If I send them 500 resumes, maybe they'll hire one of my people and I'll get to earn a fee. That's not Thomas Edwards Group, but it's a successful model and it works for some recruiting agencies. Our model is a relationship model. There's people in the room that I have known for multiple years, and I know all about them and all about their families because I stay in touch and I like to know what's going on, and I'm trying to help them find a job. If I can't help them find a job, I'm going to try to help them in some other way, make introductions. It's a relationship model, okay? So that's what we're here for, and that's how Thomas Edwards Group operates. Okay, so that's retained versus contingent. Let's talk about serving the client. Recruiting agencies are typically a commission-based job for recruiters, okay? That means we get a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of whatever the company pays to our firm, okay? So if a recruiter is an office of one, then most of that they get to retain themselves. If they work at a firm like ours, there is a fee that is earned, and then we get a percentage of it based on, did we talk to the company? Did we bring the company into Thomas Edwards Group? Did we provide the right candidate for that job? Et cetera, et cetera. And so sometimes that fee is split up a little bit, but that's how we earn our fees. It's a commission-based job. So that helps you understand how and why recruiters are motivated. We serve our clients, but we also serve our candidates. So we have a thing at Thomas Edwards Group where we sit down, and if anything gets tricky or if anything sounds odd, we sit down as a group and we all talk about it. What's in the best interest of the client? What's in the best interest of the candidate? What's in the best interest of the firm? And if all of those things and when all of those things align, then that's the right answer. But if something's off, we keep talking about it until we figure out what the right answer is. Because we have to advocate for our clients, we also have to advocate for our candidates. So we're motivated to help you. We are also motivated to help our clients, okay? So that gives you a little sense of kind of who we are and what we're doing. Candidate marketing. So back to the spaghetti on the wall. Some companies like to take your resume and they are just gonna send it over to all of their clients. Without your name on it, sometimes with your name on it, you never know. And they're hoping that maybe that client happens to need somebody with your background today, even though it's not posted, even though no one asked us to look for it, and they're just hoping that they can earn a fee that way, okay? Thomas Edwards Group will do candidate marketing, but it's a very small percentage, and it's in very, very small percentage in very, very targeted, strategic ways. We typically will not send your resume over to a client unless you know about it, okay? So as a candidate, you just want to be sure you know who's got your resume and what are they doing with it. One of the exceptions to that I think that we do is both of them have examples of clients that they've worked with for multiple years. And that client will say, you know what, Hadley, if you ever find a candidate that's an accounts payable manager that's got whatever, Sage 3, blah, 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 and they can do three-way match, and they can do this, and it's all this software, and they live in Irving, and they're in this price range. If you ever find a candidate like that, I want to know about them, okay? So Sophie might find a resume and say, hey, candidate, we're not sure they're hiring, but they told me anytime I find a candidate like you to send it over. Right? So we do a little bit of that, but that's candidate marketing. So again, you got to understand the motivation. Some recruiters are motivated to send it all over, just seeing if they might accidentally, just by chance, earn a fee. Others are going to be much more strategic with it. So you just have to be sure you know who has your resume and what are they doing with it. Okay? Good? Y'all, anything? Okay. Recruiter ownership of a candidate. Okay, so because we are a commission-based agency, because most recruiting agencies are commission-based, there's a rule within recruiting agencies that's called candidate ownership, okay? The reason is whoever owns the candidate that actually gets placed out at a client earns a percentage of that fee, okay? So in order to, quote, own the candidate, we have to know you and know you really well, which is why we are motivated to spend time with you and interview you and learn all of the tricks about what's gonna make you excited, what that perfect role is, what that salary target is that you're looking for, but also, hey, Sarah, if you called me on a job that's 10,000 less than my target, I'd wanna know about it at least, right? So we spend a lot of time with our candidates getting to know them, and then we, quote, own them. We are supposed to keep in touch. We are supposed to help you in any way that we can, right? Different recruiters are different motivated at different times, and they're all busy, which is our next slide, so you'll get to learn about that. But candidate ownership can be a little tricky for you to understand if you're not on the inside, but that's why every once in a while someone will reach out to me and say, Sarah, my best friend is a tax accountant, and I need for you to help her because she's now in a job search. And I will go look up that particular tax accountant in our database, and guess what? Sophie interviewed that tax accountant 2 months ago. So I will say, thank you so much for your referral. I will be sure that Sophie talks to the tax accountant to make sure that we're following up and helping in any way, shape, or form on behalf of our firm, okay? So if you ever feel like you have been, quote, passed off, or you are sending somebody someone they're passed off, it's typically because there's candidate ownership rules. And we have to be really careful because, again, we're doing right by the candidates, we're doing right by the clients, we're doing right by the firm. So we want to be sure that the right person is going to ultimately earn that commission where it makes sense. Cool? Yes? Lights are bright. Okay. So this is one of my favorite slides, and I'm going to pass off and let y'all turn their mic on if you don't mind, because they are going to talk to you guys about this. Is that insane? Somebody actually built this slide years ago, and it makes so much sense. So I'm going to let these lovely ladies share because this is literally what they do all day long, every day.
Yes, so we get to peel back the curtain a little bit here. My eyes are not great, so I will stand here. So this is a little bit about what Hadley and I do every single day, all day, every day. A little hard to follow here. We are going to go up and down and up and down. So it all starts when a client calls us. They have a hiring need. We'll go with the AP manager example. We need help finding an AP manager. So they call us. We sit down with them. First thing, as Sarah mentioned, we need to have a fee agreement in place. Part of that goes with us earning our commission, ensuring that we are motivated to find the right candidate, having that partnership with a client. So that is always the first step. After that fee agreement is in place, then we sit down with our client every single time. So we are always meeting the client, making sure, we can speak to the hiring managers, speak to their environment. We love to get in person and get a tour of their offices, meet other people on the team if we can. So we love to do that first step, client Q&A in person. If we can't go in person immediately, then we'll start with a Zoom, but we do like to have that face-to-face connection with our clients so that when we're talking to people like you, we can say, hey, we know this person now, we have been to the environment, here's what your workspace might look like. The people that we met there were all amazing. And so we like to have that kind of background knowledge going into the call. This is also where we find out about the job. We ask all of our questions. We make sure we know exactly the type of profiles that they're looking for, what's going to be important to them in the person that we're hiring. So sometimes they've already seen a few candidates and can say, hey, we loved this about this person. We loved this about X resume, but we didn't like this. So we kind of like to get a feel of that going straight in. Sometimes we don't have that information. It's, hey, we don't know exactly what we need, but we would love to see a few resumes and you tell us, and we'll kind of go from there and narrow down the pool. So that's where the bulk of the information comes from that we get before conducting interviews there. Now our firm, we have a lot of recruiters on our team. It's not just Hadley and I. And on average, we are speaking to about 80 to 100 candidates every single week. So we are constantly, like Sarah said, meeting new people. We are working on multiple jobs at a time. So I might have 8 to 10 roles that I myself am working on. Hadley might have the same number, and that's across direct hire and contract. So between the whole team, we are speaking with a lot of you every single week. After the Q&A and kind of the candidate interviewing process, we are sending out the role to our team. So Hadley is going to know exactly what roles I'm looking for. Maybe a candidate that she spoke with 2 weeks ago is a perfect fit for the role that I brought in today. So that kind of goes back to the, hey, we're speaking with people. It might not be today, but we might have something that we call you back about later. And so everyone on the team is looking for each other's roles. We're not only focused on our roles. After that is when we officially start our search plan. So I will hand it over to Hadley to talk about that.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about working a search plan. This is where, once we have the role kicked out to the team, we think, okay, what do we need to do first? Is it look in our database to see what candidates my colleagues have spoken with that are a match for this role? What candidates have I spoken with? We go out on LinkedIn. We look for candidates there and do some sourcing there. We post the role. So once that role is posted, then we interview candidates that apply for the role. If a candidate has already spoken with Thomas Edwards Group that applied for the role, we let our colleague know, and they will reach out to them and talk to them about that role. So a lot goes into this search plan to find the perfect candidate for our client. Now, keep in mind, our firm works about 50 to 60 other direct hire orders at the same time. I think right now we have over 70
That's
positions.
just direct hire permanent roles. We also have 30-ish contract roles.
Correct.
At any given time. We average about 100 jobs moving all at the same time.
So we're busy, and we're looking for candidates for our colleagues' roles. We're looking for candidates for our roles. During all of that, we're also interviewing candidates, negotiating offers, all the things, coming to Frisco Connect. There's a lot going on in our worlds. Once an offer, our client decides that they want to make an offer to a candidate, we are the mediator between the candidate and the client. So what that means is if a client makes an offer to a candidate and the candidate is, well, that's not really what I wanted. I really needed, $5,000 more. What can we do to make this happen? Well, we can do a sign-on bonus. We can talk about an end-of-year bonus. Maybe there is, there are other benefits that will help make up that $5,000, right? So we'll go back to the client and we negotiate back and forth until everyone is happy with the end result. And then this is when the party starts. So after we negotiate an offer, the candidate accepts, and they start, then we get to celebrate with everyone. And so what that means is we can take them to lunch, we can have a happy hour, whatever they're wanting to do, and that is so fun for us because it's really seeing the culmination and the end success of what we've worked so hard to do during this process. And the job order is filled. So, and then we start it all over again with other clients. And that's kind of the cycle of from job order coming in to job order filled.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
You'll notice the little words at the bottom. Does anyone see that? 95% of what we're doing is for free. Let that sink in, okay? 95% of what we are doing as a firm for you, for the clients, is for free. Because the only time we actually earn a fee is if we get all the way to the end of the blue. There's a lot of things, y'all. We're dealing with humans. We're dealing with people. People have problems. People have challenges. We have a lot of people that get an offer and don't accept it. It wasn't the right thing. Maybe they got a counter offer from their current employer, okay? We have people who say, gosh, I would have accepted it, but they want me in the office 3 days a week, and I only want to be in the office 2 days a week. All the back and forth and negotiation in the world is not going to make someone change their mind, and we're not in the business of changing someone's mind. We're in the business of trying to get the right person into the right job. Okay, so we're trying to find all that. But a lot of things happen along the way that mean it does not necessarily work like that. And so we only earn a fee when we get to the blue. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that help pull the curtain back at all? Did y'all all know all that stuff's going on at the same time? Every firm's a little different, right? Every firm's a little different. But for our firm, it's like you've got the hamster wheel over here, with the hamster wheel over here, with the hamster wheel over here, with a monkey over here clapping cymbals in your ear. We're all trying to deal with all the things, and then it's somebody, there's a fish. It's insanity. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes. Does that make sense? All right. Thank you, ladies. So what are the benefits of working with a recruiter and working with a search firm? Okay, so again, this isn't corporate recruiters. We're going to talk specifically about working with search agencies. The benefits are you have access to more jobs. I have 2 clients that I'm meeting with this week. One is today, one is on Friday. Both of them, Sarah. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah happened, whatever. I need a controller, and I need a controller tomorrow. And I need a great controller, and they have to have these 10 things on the checkbox, right? But I don't want to post it because I'm going to get inundated with people that aren't a good fit, okay? That's why you want to work with search firms if you can. That's one of the benefits. We know about jobs that never make it to their website, never make it to LinkedIn, or they find our candidate, they're excited about our candidate. Sorry, I'm wandering too far. I knew that too. Y'all warned me. Our candidate, they might have to then post it on their website for 24 or 48 hours for legal reasons, right? Everybody in HR, shake your head. Yes, we know this happens. Or they might have an internal candidate, but then they call us and say, but I'll look at your top 3, but I'm not going to post it. So that's one of the benefits of working with a search agency. You also get to be represented by experienced professionals, right? These ladies do this all day long, every day. There's not one thing that you could call them and say, you know what, I got to tell you something that they haven't heard, most likely. We've heard it all. We're experienced professionals. We want to help you. We want to add value. So we will help you with briefing, prepping, coaching. On the front end, we will take a look at your resume. We will take a look at your LinkedIn profile. We'll make sure they match, okay? If they don't match, if you don't have a picture, if you don't have a good picture, or if you have a picture from 30 years ago, we're going to help coach you into, let's put your best foot forward and let's help you the best way we can, okay? We're going to help prep you for interviews. We're going to help debrief after your interviews. We're going to talk through things. We can also be objective resources for you if you have other interviews outside of our firm, okay? Because again, what's our goal? Our goal is to make a placement, but our bigger goal is to build a good relationship with someone who trusts us and likes us and wants to continue that relationship. So our goal is for you to get a job and or a career. Our goal is for you to land somewhere that you're excited about. So if that's with us, that's fantastic. But if it's not with us, we can still help. I can't tell you how many candidates I have that call me and say, Sarah, I have an interview with XYZ. It's not through me. I don't care. What's your problem? What's your challenge? Let's talk about it. What's going on? Because we just want to help. Okay, so we're going to coach you. We're going to guide you. We're going to give you a little tough love every once in a while. So don't get offended. It's because we've been there, we've done that, we've seen it, and we're trying to help you avoid some of the other pitfalls, right? We can serve as a buffer. So sometimes you might say, I really want to work in an office no more than 2 days a week, but we know the client said it's 5 days a week, but the client really said, but for the right candidate, we'll be flexible maybe to 3. We know that. You don't know that. They don't know that. We got to help be the buffer in between to help you guys get to those good answers. We help you secure the interview. Y'all, we're your advocate. So let's talk about, everybody knows that there's a hiring manager out there, and half of you in the room have been that hiring manager where you say, I want these 10 things, right? Whether you're talking to a search agency, you're talking to your internal recruiting team, you said, I don't want to talk to anybody unless they fit all 10 of these boxes. Well, guess what? We may know you, and you may fit 7 of the boxes. So what are we going to try to do? We're going to try to get you the interview. We're going to try to get you the interview because we want you to be in the room, face to face with a hiring manager and sell yourself on why your 7 checked boxes might be the best candidate out there and maybe even better than some that check all 10. So we are trying to secure you the interview. We are trying to advocate for you. If we get all the way down the path and it doesn't turn into an offer, at least we've tried to get you the interview and get you in the door, and we've tried to move the progress forward down the chart. We can make a hard match work. Well, they've got stories, right? Sometimes we hear what the client says they want, and we know them a little better, and we can say, you know what? I don't know if you want that or not. Let me just try to show you a different profile. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about somebody with this different background? Have you thought about somebody who might be retired from this but trying to do this? They can do it with their eyes closed, but you haven't thought about it. Can we help you secure the interview, right? So we're trying to make hard matches work. We, as they mentioned, also have an entire division within our firm that does contract opportunities. So if you're working with a search agency and you're looking for your best perfect full-time permanent role, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, you might be a good candidate for a contract position to reap the benefits that come with that, right? And those include things like, getting a little cash in the door while you're waiting on that permanent salary. You are getting to keep your skill set fresh because you're not sitting for 6 months in job search. You're actually working potentially in your industry, or at least in your function. You're getting to help another client. You're getting to help another company. Oftentimes you're overqualified maybe for what they need full-time, but you're a fantastic resource to come in on a short-term basis and help them with whatever the challenge is, whatever the cleanup project is, whatever the urgency, right? Because contracts are typically when there's something that's needed that's urgent. And then like we said, we get to help with salary and package negotiations. Okay, so when we ask you things like, what is your target salary? That's for our information only. We don't share that with the client. However, when we present you to a client, we do present you with a target salary in mind. We do that to avoid the pitfalls that come later in the conversation. But there's a lot of things that go into total rewards package, right? So yes, there's a base salary, but oftentimes there's some sort of discretionary bonus. There might be a sign-on bonus. There's a PTO package. There's medical benefits, other benefits, 401k. The list goes on and on and on and on. Work from home flexibility. So we spend time with you as a candidate asking, what are the things that are really the most critical and important to you when it comes to that salary and total rewards package? Because we want to try to get it for you if we can. And if it's too far from a potential job that we're working, then that's okay. You don't have to consider yourself for that one. You can say, nope, that one's not close enough, right? That one's in downtown Fort Worth, Sarah. I'm not driving to downtown Fort Worth. I don't care if it's 2 days a week. I'm not doing it. Okay, this isn't the right job for you, so let's figure out what the next one is, right? So we help with all of that stuff. So those are benefits to working with search agencies. Okay, these are the do's of working with a recruiter, and then we're going to go through the don'ts, and then we'll have some Q&A. Do, choose the right firm. Thomas Edwards Group is a lovely firm, and Foster and Pete are very kind to give us a lot of good credit. And I promise you, we have a great reputation in the marketplace, and we're doing our very best. With that said, we're not for everyone. We're not for everyone. We specialize in accounting and finance primarily, some HR and IT, primarily in Dallas-Fort Worth, and almost always in the state of Texas. Okay? So we have a lot of folks that we meet that are sales engineers, maybe marketing executive, maybe operations executive in Chicago and Oregon. They're lovely people. I want to help them if I can, but I'm probably not the right firm for them. Does that make sense? Some of you in the room, we might be the right firm for you. Some of you in the room, I know we've talked to you. Some of you in the room, we're trying to place you as the best we can, but we're not going to be the right firm for everyone. So you got to find the firms that might be the right for you. You want to think about their reputation. You want to think about the fit with your background. You want to think about, can you trust them with your resume and other things, right? If you don't know who those search firms are, there's a couple of websites, and we can talk about it in the Q&A that you might look up. Ask ChatGPT, or Chad, as Rebecca calls him, her best friend. Ask ChatGPT, who's the good search firm for me if this is my background and this is what I'm looking for and this is what part of town I live in, et cetera, right? However, I still think the best way to find those recruiting firms that are right for you is to ask your friends and people in your network. Who'd you work with to get your last job? Do you have a recruiter that I need to know? Okay, ask them because they know you, they know who might fit with you. So ask them. You want to treat him and her with respect. I know that goes without saying, but you guys complain a lot, not these individuals, just in general. Candidates complain a lot about recruiters ghosting them, and it's valid. Recruiters should not ghost you, okay? But I will flip that on its head and say the opposite is true, which is you guys don't ghost us. We want to give you time. We want to spend time with you. We want to engage. So treat us with respect. We will treat you with respect. And I'm speaking in general about recruiters here, not every single individual in every single case. Treat it as a normal interview. This is a tricky one, right? Because sometimes we will set up an interview with you and you'll be late by 15 minutes, you'll show up in a t-shirt, you'll show up with your laundry hanging in the background, whatever. We are supposed to advocate for you and send you over as a candidate to our clients. So the best way for us to be able to do that is if you treat it like a real interview. We're real recruiters. We want to help you. So treat it like a real interview. It doesn't mean you have to have a suit. It doesn't mean you have, right? We know that most of you can put on a jacket as needed, myself included. I don't like dressing up if I don't have to, but I will if I need to. But treat it as a normal interview if you can, because it also helps us give you some of that tough love if you need it. Because, again, we're the experts. We do this all day long, every day. Tell the truth. Okay, this goes back to there's nothing we haven't heard. Maybe not nothing, but y'all, we've heard it all. It is a whole lot easier for you to look me in the eyes, either in an interview that's live or on a Zoom, and say, Sarah, I was fired from my last job, and here's what happened. I can help you, okay? I can help you with how do we describe that? How do we share that? What do we share, right? I can help you with that. But if you tell me not the truth, and then it pops up 7 interviews later, I can't help you recover from that always. Does that make sense? So tell us the truth. I promise you, we are not here to judge. We are here to help you and help you find that interview and help you find that job. So tell us the truth. Tell us the things that you liked and didn't like about your last job, right? You may not want to share quite that much in an interview with a client because you don't want to be considered, talking negatively about your last job, but you can tell us what are those things because we want to try to help you get to the final, right job. Establish a long-term relationship. You want to meet, you want to stay in touch. Try to meet people face-to-face if you can. Certainly, post-COVID, there's been a lot of Zooms and Teams meetings and things, and those are fine. They work, especially for a first meeting, especially if you cannot, figure out the logistics to meet live. But for most of us, we'd love to have you to our office. We'd love to have you for coffee. Let's, meet live if we can, but at least try to meet face-to-face. We can advocate for you better if we know you better. And the best way to do that is to meet often and build a long-term relationship. There's that word, foster, relationships. And then help us if you can, right? What's our business? Well, our business is placing candidates. So if you have a candidate that hasn't already been introduced to our firm and you think that they might be a fit, make an introduction. We'll see if we can help them. If you have a neighbor or a client or a friend at church or your wife or whatever it is that says, you know what I need? I need a bookkeeper, and I need a bookkeeper tomorrow. Hey, let me introduce you to Sarah. Because you know how we treat our candidates, that's also how we treat our clients, so we're happy to help them. So if you catch wind of something that makes sense, I'm always happy to have those conversations to see if we can help. So give us a referral if you can. You don't have to, but you can. Don'ts. Don't expect too much. Okay, this is back to my tough love. If you've seen me ever at any Zoom before, this is where I say it is not my job to find you a job. Okay? It's not my job to get you a job. It is my job to help you. It is my job to support you. It is my job to coach you. It is my job to provide opportunities at my clients that I think are a good fit. It is my job to, if I see something on LinkedIn and it's not through me, and I think, hey, I wonder if this person has seen it. Rebecca, how many of those have I sent you, right? I'm like, Rebecca, I don't know anything about this job, but this made me think of you. That is my job, and I will do that, and I will do my very best to help you. But it is not my job to sit down and carve out the next 8 hours to find a job for you. Does that make sense? People get confused. They call me and they say, Sarah, you didn't find me anything in the last 2 weeks. I'm like, nope, that's not my job. But let me help you with other things, okay? So don't expect too much. Don't let recruiters just throw your resume against the wall like spaghetti if you can help it, right? How can you help it? Ask them, hey, do you protect my resume? When are you going to send my resume? What do you do with my resume? If their answer is, I'm just going to send it along and see what I can catch, then that's the wrong answer. Or just tell them, I appreciate it that you now have my resume. I want you to treat it with grace. I'm expecting you to not send it along unless we have talked about an actual job that is actually open, right? You can ask for that. That's fine to expect that. We will respect that and honor that. And then finally, don't go around the recruiter, right? Back to the whole beginning of this, it's a commission-based world. For some of our clients, we're the only recruiters working the job. For other of our clients, they have 4 different agencies working the job. So what does that mean? It means you to call and I say, hey, I'd like to share this job with you. I think it might be a good fit for you. What do you think? And you go, oh, that sounds all great. What company is it? And I say, oh, well, it's Exxon. And you say, oh, you know what? XYZ recruiter already submitted my resume to Exxon. They called me a week ago. That's fine. We just want to know. Don't go around us and try to say, oh, well, I like you better, so now I want you to represent me with Exxon. It doesn't work that way. And it gets real tricky on the back end between different companies and different fee agreements and all that stuff. It is so much easier if you don't go around us and just tell us the truth. We still care. We want to help you. You can't go around us, right?
Right.
Anything else? No. Okay. So that's the do's and don'ts. That is the high level. That's the pulling back the curtain. That's the presentation. Here are our email addresses. I'm not sure why my mine's purple. I'm sure it's hyperlinked or something. But it's real easy. Sarah, Sophia, Hadley @thomasedwards.com. Our website is www.thomasedwards.com. All of our live job openings are there. It is constantly updated, so when we fill a role, we take that off of our website, okay? When we get a new role, we put it on our website. Is it exactly perfect to the minute? No, because there's life, but it's real close to being live and accurate, okay? So if you see something on our website, you will see a job description. You will see a general part of town, meaning it will typically say Dallas or Fort Worth, and that's about all you get. And it will have some sort of skill requirements that the client has given us that they're looking for. What you will not see on our website is the name of the company, right? Because we don't have to tell you that. And quite often there's confidential searches that we can't tell you because the person in the seat doesn't know that they're getting laid off in 2 weeks. We know that. They don't know that. So you will not find the name of the company. You will typically not find the salary range. So I've had candidates call me before and say, Sarah, oh my gosh, I'm perfect for job 1046. Why didn't you call me about job 1046? I'll say, because job 1046 is paying $75,000 and it's in downtown Fort Worth. And you told me you will only work for $120,000 or more and only in a 15-mile radius of Plano. That's why I didn't call you. Oh, well, okay, maybe I would consider that. Okay, well then now let's talk, right? But that's why I didn't call you about it. Anything else? It's the basics. Okay. Q&A. What can we help you guys with? Yes, Pete's going to run the mic. Thank you, Pete. You're live. You're hot.
Hi, my name is Timolyn Wilson. I'm looking for marketing project management roles.
Okay.
And my question is on the fees. I've heard sometimes that fees come out of the employee's salary. That's never true?
No. The way that the fees, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. The way that the fee typically works, it is based on a candidate's full-time salary. Okay, so for example, we'll go back to that example of a $75,000 job in downtown Fort Worth. If we have a client that says we're gonna pay you, let's call it 20%, 25%, 30%, right? It's a range. It's part of my job every day is to get to figure out how to make that work. But let's call it 25%. And someone is hired, actually let's do the math easier. Say we hired somebody or they hired somebody for $100,000. It's our candidate, we sent your resume over, we helped you through all the interviews, they hire you, you love your offer for $100,000. Everybody's excited, you show up day one. Day one that you're an employee there, we send an invoice to the client, and let's call it 25%, we will send them an invoice for $25,000. Then they pay us. It has nothing to do with your salary, other than the calculation is based on your salary. I promise you, they all have a separate bucket, and anybody at the executive level or high level knows this. There's a separate bucket for recruiting agency fees as an expense line item. So that's why they don't always use us, because they know if they do find the candidate, or if we do find them the candidate, they have to pay us. So they don't always use us. They want their internal team to try to find it first. But it's based on your salary. It doesn't come out of your pocket at all.
I'm going to add a word to that.
Yeah.
No legitimate recruiter is going to charge a candidate.
That's fair. I'm speaking on what I know. It's fair.
Hi, I'm Chandra. I'm a quality engineer.
Hi.
My question is I know that you said chat GPT to find the correct or the best fit research firm for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that chat GPT is more like a toddler. So they give you good information, but it might not be great information. So what's another way to find the right firm that could assist you?
So, good question. I think the best way you can ask is ask colleagues that you work with, colleagues that have been placed in your industry, colleagues that, maybe somebody else got laid off that you did and they found a job faster than you did. Who helped them? Because they can give you referrals for those things. I think there's a website, and y'all, I'm going to get it wrong, so I'll look it up before the break or after the break or during the break. I think it's Search Firms for You or something like that. Anybody know? Anyway, I'll find it. But there's a website that's a search engine that helps find search firms specifically to your either region or geography. The other thing I will tell you is, y'all, I think there's an opportunity here in Dallas-Fort Worth for anybody who wants to start a recruiting firm that focuses on marketing and operations. Because I know a lot of people in marketing and operations, and they have had a really hard time finding a search firm that's really focused on that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not going to start that firm, but it's an opportunity if anybody wants to, new idea. Okay.
Hello, my name is Florence Hogan. I'm market research and competitive intelligence.
Excellent.
And my question is, you mentioned that you go online to find people on LinkedIn. How do you make your LinkedIn profile more desirable for recruiters? So as a recruiter, when you're going to the LinkedIn page to find someone, what do they need to have on there that's going to really catch your eye or to consider that candidate?
That is a great question. I'm going to let y'all take that one, but yeah.
Sure. So there is a portion of LinkedIn that if you're not a recruiter, you never see. It is for recruiters. And we can go in and put in keywords. We can put in a title. We can put in location. We can put in how many years experience. Software, all the things. So make sure that, you have your technical skills on there, all of them. Because if it's that one technical skill that you didn't put on there, and that's the one we're looking for, you're not going to pull up. And so we put in, keys, right, that we're looking for, and then that's what pulls up. If you are not working right now, also make sure that you put that you're open to work. There's a banner okay, that will go across your profile, and it will show up as you are open to work, and then you can put in your, for lack of a better word, limitations on what you want. So you want hybrid or remote, in these different cities or suburbs. These are the job titles that you're interested in. And that will also pop up when we put in these keys. Now, if you are working, you can set up your LinkedIn profile to where it will only show open to work for recruiters. So if I went and searched your LinkedIn profile on just, regular old LinkedIn, it will not show you're open to work. If I go to your LinkedIn profile on the recruiter page, it will. So now don't get it confused and, put open to work, if you're still working on the regular profile. But there are settings that you can do that will help you populate into different searches. And I hope that answered your question.
Can I add a couple more things to that?
Yeah.
Number one, it sounds like you guys buy the LinkedIn recruiter package. A lot of recruiters do not. So setting the recruiter flag, like for instance, if I was to search for somebody, I'm not going to see that flag either, correct? I mean, you guys do have the recruiter package you buy from LinkedIn, Thomas Edwards?
Yeah, we have them.
Yeah, so yes, if you set the recruiter flag so recruiters will see it, but only that recruiting firm has the expensive LinkedIn recruiter package.
Correct. Yeah,
Secondly,
you have to pay for it, yeah.
Right. Secondly, keep in mind if you have internal recruiters at your company, they might also see that flag. So be careful with that. Be aware.
Yep.
Be ready to feign innocence like, oh, I didn't know that flag was there. It must have been a mistake. So because they may see it as well. As a candidate, please have your contact information either on the banner behind your page or in the About section. Because if you're not a first level connection, for most recruiters, they cannot see. They want to pick up the phone and call you, and they can't because they don't have your contact info. The best they can do is send you a LinkedIn message and hope that you see it. In the meantime, by the time you've seen it, they've moved on to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth candidate. So make yourself found. Make yourself easy to be contacted. Putting in the contact info is great, but if I'm not a first level, can you guys see the contact info with the recruiter package? If you're not a first level?
It depends on if they have given us that information.
Right. So via LinkedIn only,
Yeah.
unless you're a first level, you can't see it either.
Or I can offer a suggestion too, if you don't feel comfortable putting your contact information out there, which some don't, just make sure you're checking your LinkedIn messages.
Right.
If you're open to work, check them. And this is kind of where it goes, where Sarah was saying, if you say you're open to work and someone reaches out to you wanting to help you find a position, if you're not interested, just say, thank you so much, I'm not interested at this time. Right. It goes a long way. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as your contact information, keep in mind you can set up an email address just for the job search. You can get a Google Voice number, so the real number is not out there. So there are ways to do this, but folks, be found. Because even when I try looking for people, because I've seen a job that would match up with somebody, and I find somebody, I can't get a hold of them because I don't have any contact info. And like you said, Hadley, all I can do is send them an email or a LinkedIn message, and hopefully they'll see it.
And you can also set up an email account just for your job search.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's
Display
not out there your everyday.
Correct.
So you can, when you have messages coming into that account, you know that it's
Perfect.
probably a.
Absolutely. All right, this
Got
gentleman
a
got a question
question
here.
Oh, okay.
Hello, my name is Reagan Armstrong. I'm looking to work in the custodial industry, and I was wondering, so is LinkedIn a requirement to work in your service or any service like that, or can you get by with Indeed or ZipRecruiter or other alternative services like that?
I don't know if LinkedIn is ever considered required. Yeah. But it is the business networking tool of choice. So there will be recruiters who miss you if you are not active with a LinkedIn profile. That's the best way to say it. Yeah.
Y'all are gonna like this one. My name's Paul Agatuda. I'm a Operations and Process Improvement Manager.
Yes.
How do y'all resolve the purple squirrel and what y'all have in terms of the pool of candidates?
Great question. And y'all want me to take it or y'all want to try? How do we resolve the purple squirrel versus our pool of candidates, and how do we deal with that with clients? Probably. There's no one answer is the right thing, right? Going back to, it depends on the client. Some clients I've known a long time, and I'm perfectly fine to say, hey, Becky, you need to talk to Paul. Well, how do you know? He's not the purple squirrel. You need to talk to Paul. If you don't like Paul, tell me you don't like Paul and tell me why you don't like him, but I know you and I know you need to talk to Paul. Those are only some of my clients. It's not every client. Some of my clients will do a search. In fact, I have one right now where we have to have a tough conversation with a client because the client wants the purple squirrel. We sent lavender squirrels. They're not interested in talking to them. And so we have to have a hard conversation with them where we literally step back and say, okay, let us just explain to you what we've done. Back to the search plan, right? Back to that one bucket. We are going to pull the curtain way back with them and say, we looked in our database and there are 3 people with your 10 requirements. 2 are retired and 1 is currently working and is not interested in a search. We then did this on LinkedIn. Here's the Boolean word searches that we did. We looked on Indeed. We looked on ZipRecruiter. We posted it on our website. We posted it on LinkedIn. We posted it on Indeed. We posted it on Zip. We did this, we did this, we did this. We talked to 42 people who were close and da-da-da-da-da, and this is what we're not finding. And we will go through and tell them all those things, hoping to educate them on the challenge. And so it just depends. There's no one perfect answer, but we only get paid if we make a placement. So we want them to find their good person and their right person. But at some point, and we've pulled away from clients before who absolutely will not consider, something different or with an asterisk or close. And so it depends. But it's one of our biggest challenges, I will tell you that for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of times, we'll search and search and search, and then what happens is the client comes back to us and says, okay, we're willing to sacrifice X. So, a lot of times they will come back and start broadening the keys a little bit more.
All right, Ron's got a question.
My name is Ron Layton. I run the Dallas Pick Crew. So question for you. I've heard, especially in 2026, a few people come in and say they've had a recruiter want them to sign a letter of engagement. Okay? So what's your opinion on signing letter of engagements? For what period and for what kind of exclusions should you put as a candidate if they want you to sign a letter of engagement?
I wish we'd get back to that. Sarah, what do you think about the right to represent letters? You guys don't do them, do you?
We don't do them.
There was a period of time, guys, back in the Mesozoic era. No, I'm kidding. But there was a period of time where that was standard. And we've gotten away from that now. We've got so much technology going on. I don't want you guys to become bots. We've got wonderful technology. But this is what is very important. My buddy Dave Powell is right there, and we have known each other. Oh my God, we've known each other a long time. But you know what? How many years? And you know what? Guys, when you build a relationship, somebody can endorse you if you have a relationship with them. Does that make sense? Am I burning? Okay. Now, I love the technology. You can meet Dave Powell. You can meet Jeff. But one thing that I want to share with you guys, I want to put in your head, we are part of a huge network just here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and we got 20 other states where we have meetings like this too. If you're working with Sarah, ask Sarah, hey, Sarah, I know we're focusing on this position here. But is there another priority position? Is there something that can make you a lot of money right now that you're looking for? Because I'm part of a huge network, and I would love to help you if I could. Now, do you think Sarah's going to remember you guys?
I'm going to try.
Well, she did go to A&M. Just a thought now, guys. We are people, and we have to keep this human element going. Trevor Houston says it all the time, and I agree with him. If we can keep this thing going, then it's going to work. Because is it getting easier to get a job out there, guys? No. Then we have to do, the onus is on us a lot of times, isn't it? Sarah may get so many phone calls, she may forget, oh, I talked to Judy and I'm supposed to get back with Judy. Well, Judy, if you call Sarah and say, hey, we're supposed to talk, remember? I'm not saying that Sarah would forget, but let's make sure that a lot of these things happen, and that happens through relationship. And that's what I love about her company. I'm always talking about her company. I know most of her bosses anyway, and these are wonderful people. I'll tell you something about Thomas Edwards Group. A lot of companies that they service, come from recommendations from other companies that they have serviced. I have been in this recruiting and this networking thing a long time. So I've been in a whole lot of conversations. I'm still in a whole lot of conversations. I know a lot of things that go their way, and other places, we're just people. We like to help each other. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to shut up, Sarah, and let you talk.
No, I'm good. Answer is I don't think candidates should have to do that for what it's worth. I don't think candidates should have to sign exclusivity.
So if we get somebody that comes and asks our opinion, should we say it's recommended not to?
Depends on how far along in their job search they are, how, quote, desperate they are to work with that particular organization. But in general, candidates shouldn't have to pay for anything. You shouldn't, they're not, well, I know, it's not even for a fee, but it's still at a cost because you still, in theory, are reducing your options with other people who want to get you a job. So why would you do that? I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, if you're going to insist on doing it, by all means, make sure it's very specific to that one particular role. If you have a job number, even better, and for a certain time frame. I usually tell people no more than 60 days, 90 if you have to, but please make sure there's a specific role, because otherwise they're going to own you for all roles of that company.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want that because of what Sarah just said. So I'm like you, I really don't recommend it.
Right.
But if you're going to do it, please be very specific about it and put it in a tight little box.
Guys,
Rebecca,
Sarah said something
hold on,
earlier.
Rebecca's got her hand
Where's
raised, too.
Rebecca? I've got all this. These
She's like,
lights are bright.
I know the lights are bright. It's all
Rebecca
good.
needs a mic? What?
Rebecca Wolf, ladies
My
and
name
gentlemen.
is Rebecca Wolf. I'm in leadership and learning development, and I just had like a question or just like a comment, just on other conversations that we've already had. And that's been recruiters reaching out to my email address, maybe from Thomas Edwards or from a different firm, but their email address is gmail.com. Or I have people who are reaching out to me on LinkedIn to create a relationship. And when I go check their profile, they only maybe have like 5 or 6 connections. What can you tell the group about these types of recruiters who are reaching out to them?
Okay, so one of the things that I used to have on my presentation, and I took it off and I don't remember why, is that recessions or weird economies or bad influence leads to bad behavior, right? We all know that. It just leads to bad behavior because people are motivated by different things, right? Recruiters can also be motivated by bad behavior or motivated into bad behavior if they're relying on a placement to put food on their table, okay? So just like you guys are job seeking, recruiters are trying to, make a living. And so Unfortunately, Rebecca, because of technology, because of bots, because of AI, because of all the different things, and because of weird economies, recruiters can be sometimes really busy. They can be overwhelmed. They can be dealing with hiring managers who don't want to see the person with 7 buckets instead of 10 buckets checked. And it leads to poor behavior on the recruiter's part sometimes also. It's almost like cybersecurity, where we have to stay one step ahead of the bad guys, right? In fraud and all that other stuff. We have to stay one step ahead of the bad AI recruiter bots and things that are out there. And if you, as a candidate, get contacted by a recruiter on a Gmail, it's typically not a real recruiter, unless small percentage chance they're working on contract through a company, but still you would know that. If they come from an email address that says thomasedwards.gmail.com, that's not Thomas Edwards Group. If there's an in-mail from a recruiter that says, please call me, I need your resume, I need all your information, and oh, by the way, I also need $100. And they, again, to Rebecca's point, you look on their LinkedIn profile, there's no picture, there's no connections. They're not real, y'all. They're bots. So careful. Be real careful. Anything else I'm missing? I know we've talked about this for a while, Rebecca, on a lot of things. Yeah, that's okay. We can hear you. Yeah, Pete will tell you to do a reverse image search on Google, because you will find them in 18 different LinkedIn profiles. The one stock photo.
Yes. So we have a question here from...
Not a question, I actually want to add on to this.
Yeah.
The other thing I would recommend doing is look at the IP address. LinkedIn is now required to post that and see where that IP address originates. And a lot of times if it's a foreign country, you know it's a bot.
Interesting.
Perfect.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Guys, earlier, Sarah said something that was very important for us to understand. When you're working with a recruiter, make sure that recruiter knows, do not send me somewhere that we didn't discuss. Because sometimes things will happen, and it might be something good, but that recruiter should talk to you wherever they get an idea that they want to send your resume, where they're going to send it for, and all that kind of stuff. You know what? Let me know what you're doing with my resume. No surprises, because it might be a company I don't want to work for.
Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Sarah, good to see you again. Nice presentation. Mike Bilzil, so I'm seeking a data product leadership role. One of the job search strategies I've been working on is a kind of a one-page bio as marketing collateral. I'd love to understand from a recruiter's perspective your point of view on that. Is that helpful? I know a lot of focus on LinkedIn, focus on your resume. Is a bio a good complement to that? Is that from a recruiter's perspective? Because I know its intent is in part to attract recruiters.
It depends. It's the worst answer of all, but it's my answer for just about everything.
That's our most popular.
Yeah, that's the most popular answer. I like a one-page bio, especially for my executives. It's a bottom line. If your work history and your experience is 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 years, and you've got a 5-page resume, that's fine. It can list all the things. I'm only going to read the first page anyway. Most recruiters are not going to get past the first page, so hit the highlights at the top. And oftentimes for executives, a one-page bio is a nice compliment. It depends on what you're applying for, how you're applying. Is there room for it? It's kind of like cover letters, honestly. Some companies require it. Other companies, by definition, say don't send it. I don't read cover letters typically. However, if you're trying to pivot into something new, if you're trying to explain a large gap in employment, if you're trying to say, I've done all of this, but what I really want to do is this, a cover letter can be helpful, a bio can be helpful. I think the bottom line is, and there are countless, ask Pete, ask Foster, ask Jess Morris, wherever he is, There are countless presentations that you guys now have access to if you are newer to the network that show all the tips and tricks on resumes, all the tips and tricks on LinkedIn, all the tips and tricks on a bio or a marketing slick, all those kinds of things. There's so much good information out there. Take it, absorb it. If you are newer to your job search, put together a good resume, a good LinkedIn profile, a good one-pager, and then stop and get out and meet people and talk to people. And these networking events are amazing. There are so many good people that want to help you. But these are more beneficial at the beginning of your search as you're gathering tips, as you're learning. It's not just me. There's an empathetic ear in the room because you're not alone, y'all. It's hard. Job search is hard, and you've got to have people that are helping you. But as your job search continues, how you spend your time in your pie chart of job search has to ebb and flow, and it has to get more strategic. So spend the time to post on LinkedIn. Spend the time to make sure your profile is right. Spend the time to make sure you have a good generic resume. And then get out and talk to people. And not just people, as lovely as y'all all are, not just people who are also job seekers. You have to find people that are in your network that you worked with, that you worked for, that were tangential to your career, that were your vendors, that were the people, even the people that worked for you back in the day, if it's been 10, 15, 20 years, they want to help you. Call them, reconnect with them, visit with them. The goal for certain people, and definitely for my kind of higher level and my executives, you're maybe going to find a job on LinkedIn, but you're more likely going to find a job with your network, and that means people who are employed keeping their eyes open for you. And it helps them, the marketing one-pager and the bio helps them. Because they know you, they worked with you, they know your story, they may or may not read your whole resume. But if you give them hey, Bob, this is me in a one-pager, feel free to review it, ask me any questions. And if you've got somebody in mind that you think I need to meet, you are welcome to share it with them. That helps them, right? Think about when you were working and you were busy. You wanted to help your colleagues and your friends and your people that you wanted to help them. But you also wanted it to be an easy button, right?
Yeah.
So make it easy for them. It's a very long-winded answer, but the basic was it depends. Okay, hi there.
Hey, Sarah, thanks. Dave Brenner. I'm a technology professional in products and business development.
Okay.
I have a question for you. You mentioned earlier in the presentation about contracts, but a lot of your material is really focused on full-time sourcing that I could see, which totally makes sense, especially in the contingent model. But what about fractional engagement, contracts and things? I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've gotten involved in a lot of different companies through advisory positions and hands-on interim kinds of things. Just curious to see what recruiters can do in that kind of capacity.
So it's a great question. Contracts that we help our clients with are typically one level down from the C-suite and lower. Okay, so for example, my firm will help with controllers, FP&A managers, HR every once in a while. We'll help with payroll, AP clerks, anything that client calls and says, Sarah, my XYZ just left, or my XYZ has a medical emergency. I need somebody to get in here and make sure that ADP Workforce Now goes out on Monday, right? Those kinds of things. We do have long-term contracts, and we do have contracts at a higher level, so some really nice paying accounting and finance roles from time to time, or HRIS systems, ERP system implementations, things like that. But those are the ones we're working. So we also know that there's a lot of talent out there where people want to do fractional work, right? And say, maybe I'm not ready to retire. Maybe I'm not ready for a career growth. I don't need the next big position, but I still have so much to give and I still want to add value. There are lots of companies out there who need your skill set. The challenge is finding the right thing at the right time. So one option for some of you would be to work with like a Riveron, or there are firms that specialize in placing C-suite, whether it's COO, CFO, CIO, fractional roles. Typically, you are overqualified. It's probably the easiest way to say that. So you come in and you help them figure out what's the biggest problem. What do we need to do to get from here for the next 6 months while they're searching for their permanent C-suite person? And you can add a lot of value, right? The people that I know that have gone out on their own, it depends. It's my favorite answer. Some of them are really lucky because they have 2 or 3 friends, neighbors, colleagues, clients that hire them, and they're set. They're like, I'm good. The ones who have to do some business development and go find those opportunities are the ones that often struggle, because connecting you as a fractional CIO, fractional C, it's hard to find the companies who need that skill set on your own. But there's a lot of companies, consulting companies, that are either doing it on a big picture, big stage, or that are kind of onesies, twosies, that are saying, well, I want to help place CIOs, and so they've got a network and they're working it and they're trying to find those things. If you're on your own, you keep 100%. If you're working for somebody, they get a part of the percentage, right? But if you don't have to go do the business development and find the clients, then it's sometimes worth working with some of them. And like I said, I know a few of the players locally, but there are many, 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 many more that I don't know. So again, I would ask around. I'd ask your friends, ChatGPT, say, hey, I am a fractional CIO. These are the kinds of things I want to do. This is the part of town I'd like to be in. Who should I call?
We have a question back here. Sir.
Good morning. Peter
morning.
Graves. I'm an IT project manager.
Excellent.
And in Fort Worth, but I'll travel over here.
No, I love Fort Worth too.
Ageism. How do I overcome that video interview where I'm interviewing with 30-somethings and they're going, oh my God, I don't know if I want granddad working for me.
Yep. It's real. There's no way to avoid it. It's real. It depends on the hiring manager. It depends on the leadership and the tone from the top at every single company as to what they want. A couple of tips and tricks I would recommend is, number one, be sure that you are active on LinkedIn, active on tools that some of your colleagues and peers just want to avoid, right? So you can make sure you're participating in the arenas where people are participating. One is to say in interviews, I've got runway. I'm excited. I can't wait to help you solve the next problem, right? It may not be a 10-year thing, but it might be a 2-year thing. And guess what? Nobody's looking for anybody for 10 years right now. It's not realistic because y'all aren't going to commit to anything for 10 years. It's fine. It's just the way the world is now. Trying to utilize your network, meaning people that you've worked with before and worked for before and have worked for you before. They know you, they trust you, they know your work ethic and your work product. So hoping that they can get you an introduction in the door, then you have to sell yourself. Be energetic, right? I mean, it's silly things like that, but utilize the tools, show them that you're willing to learn a little bit about AI if you haven't already, right? Take a LinkedIn class, help them figure out how to solve their problems. And then keep in mind that the thing that you have that they don't, meaning the younger candidates, you have perspective. They don't have perspective. You can't bottle that up, right? If you could, I'd be a gajillionaire. You have the perspective and say, I've been through that. I know what you're going through. I've done that. Let me help you figure out how to get to the next phase, because that's what separates you from those other candidates for sure. But it's real. It's not going away.
Now, here's the hard part. Get it out of your head. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Go forward. Don't let that thought in your head jumble you up.
Foster, I couldn't agree with that more. Completely agree with that. The thing about ageism is that between your ears, you're going to fail. You got to get it out of your head. Because Sarah's right. Showing that energy, they're getting Ferrari experience for a Volkswagen price. You have to keep that in mind. You're going to come in and mentor younger people. You're going to, like she said, when something comes up and hits the fan, you know how to deal with it. You're not going to panic. You've been there, done that. You play up to that. So, all right, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Sorry, and real quick, one more thing. The other thing is, if you're open to it, contract and fractional work sometimes really helps for our candidates that are getting ageismed out of permanent roles. Because the leaders may say, well, I'm going to find somebody who I know is going to be here for the next 10 years and is going to get promoted to this and this and this. But if you're open to the fractional work, then that is oftentimes a really good way to get your foot in the door, because you're coming in as an expert who's been there, done that, as opposed to trying to compete with the candidates who are on the upward trajectory of their careers. Okay, sorry.
Hello, Sarah, Foster, Pete. I have one, since we're talking about fractional and everything, Nirav Desai.
Hello.
Sorry. Hey. So I have a friend who works as a fractional CTO and all that, and the company is called Catalant, Catalant, if you want to look it up. They're pretty big. They're all over. So that's just info.
Excellent.
The question I had is, with given the current conditions and everything, with all the influx of lot of layoffs, like Oracle had 30,000, Google had 10K, and all those, with all that influx, especially into IT industry and such, oh, by the way, I'm into IT infrastructure, operations, optimization, and mergers and acquisitions, consolidations on the data center side.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for, a technical PM. So how does that market changes how the current conditions are? That's one thing. And second is the question which he had earlier. How do you justify this long duration of not having a job onto your resume, and how do you present it? Or how is it looked upon from the recruiting point and the corporate side of the house?
I'm going to start with the second part of your question first, which is how do you explain and or how is it viewed when you have a gap in your job history? Foster has been doing this longer than me, but I've been doing some sort of recruiting for at least 25 years, and y'all, it's changed. The perception has changed post-COVID. Just about everybody has a gap in their work. Just about everybody has been laid off. Just about everybody has at least some period of time that is, quote, unexplained, right? Because it's just much more common now. So the perception has changed. Now, you still might get a hiring manager who says, well, that's not good enough, and that's okay. But for the most part, perceptions have changed, and people understand that there are gaps. Okay, so the perception has changed a little bit. Number two is you need to be prepared to answer the question of what have you been up to. Okay, so if you've been up to job search, that's one good answer. If you've been up to volunteering,
yes,
helping out with your community, helping out with other job seekers at the pit crew, helping out with, side projects for your not-for-profit that you're involved in, where you can say, look at me, I've been the treasurer, or I've been helping my church with their IT stuff, and whatever it is. If you can show that you are making a contribution to society in some way, shape, or form, that helps with the I've been job seeking only. So come up with something, whatever you like. Make yourself, and then enjoy a little bit of your time off, because you're not going to get it again once you start working. So be sure you're mixing in the mental part of spend your time with your family, go gardening, go whatever, cook, drink wine, whatever your thing is, vacation. You can't do it 100% of the time because you're still job seeking, but make sure you're taking care of yourself while you have a minute. It's the second part. The first part of your question was, what happens now that Google's laid off 30,000 people in my same network and things like that? There's no good answer. It's a supply and demand thing. Right now, y'all, if you're in accounting, it's a supply and demand this way. Everybody needs accountants. There aren't enough out there. If you're in HR right now, if you're in a lot of the data infrastructure and a lot of the back office roles that Google had laid off, et cetera, it's a supply and demand issue the other way. There's too many candidates and not enough jobs. So you have to differentiate yourself however you can. You have to be willing to consider things that maybe the throngs of other candidates aren't going to potentially consider. You might even have to take a step back. So maybe that's title, maybe that's compensation, maybe that's something to get your foot in the door somewhere. For some people, that might also be working at a mid-sized company instead of a massively large company, right? Because a lot of the people at Google, they're not going to get the phone call to go work at the mid-sized company that's in Irving, Texas. But if you're willing and interested in doing something like that, you could be the guy that wears multiple hats at a smaller sized company and can bring a lot to the table. So there's no one good answer, but it doesn't help, of course, it doesn't help. You just got to figure out what makes you special.
Okay, Dennis has a question.
Hello.
Good morning, Dennis Hamilton. I'm looking for a customer success or operations director position, but my question today is one of the things I've been trying to overcome is my education, and I want to beat the algorithm. So my question is about the algorithm. I want to beat the algorithm so that I don't get passed up. So I have a non-standard education. I have technical, certifications and so forth. I've had 8 years of school and college, but I don't check the box on some of the high-level jobs that I would be an amazing fit for, and I think I'm being passed up for those things. So how do I overcome that?
You can't necessarily trick the bot, because the recruiter on the internal side of a corporation, for example, has been requested to find somebody with a college degree in X.
Right.
Okay? His or her hiring manager has said, we don't want to look at anybody that doesn't have this. So he has to put into the algorithm on their internal applicant tracking system, I've got to have these 7 boxes checked. You're not going to beat that, most likely.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because either you're lying, which you don't want to do, right? Or their bot is set up to where they don't want to see different parameters, okay? So how do you get around that? You have to network your way in to the company, to the recruiter, to the somebody you know that used to work there, that does work there, that can get you a referral bonus, or they can get a referral bonus for bringing you in and saying, you know what, Mike doesn't have that degree, but you know what, he has 8 years of this, and you gotta talk to this guy.
Okay, no, thank you.
And referrals on LinkedIn will help with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kyle Alexander. I'm a growth-focused chief operating officer, most recently from the healthcare industry. My question is, if we have a side business that could be a consulting business, do we list that on LinkedIn? How much do we promote that versus focusing on finding a permanent role? Thank you.
That's another good question. Probably has 2 different schools of thought. So you kind of have to go with which one's your favorite. One school of thought is you don't want anything to distract from people knowing that you are an applicant and that you are looking for a full-time job at your level, and so you don't want to jack with it. You just want to put, I'm job seeking, and that's it. There's another school of thoughts that says it's actually compelling to some leaders to see that you are busy and that you are independent and that you are growing a business and that it's a good part-time thing keeping you busy while you're considering what your next thing is, right? There's different ways to phrase it on LinkedIn. There's different ways to phrase it in your meetings with people. But I don't think there's one right answer. It's like everything I say, y'all. It's the truth, though. You got to be yourself. Pete, what were we going to add?
As a hiring manager, I always prepare people to answer 2 questions. Number 1, is the business you're running on the side going to conflict with the job I'm about to hire you for? Be ready to answer that. Are you going to terminate your side gig as soon as you get hired? Or are you going to run it as well? I got to make sure there's no conflict between what you're doing for your own and what you're doing for me. Secondly, time-wise, same question. If one of your clients calls you and says, I got to meet at 6 and I need you to stay and finish a project, how is that going to look? So as long as you're able to answer those questions successfully, I don't see it much of a problem. But as long as there's no conflict in the business end and the time end, then you should be okay. But I always tell people, be ready for those questions. I would be asking them as a hiring manager, be ready to answer them successfully, because otherwise, if I feel there's a conflict in your time or a conflict in the work you're doing versus the work I'm assigning to you, then we're going to have an issue.
That's a great answer if it's truly a completely separate side gig. I think if you're doing what you want to do, but currently with other clients on a fractional basis on your own as a consultant, then it's a little bit different because you don't want to do that forever. But if you do, then keep going and try to do it forever. Yeah. It's good stuff, y'all.
Well, one of the things that that always rests on my mind is in the position. Every scenario is different, as Sarah has explained. And what is identically the same between an applicant for employment and a recruiter? What's exactly the same for both of them?
The Venn diagram is we want to get you a job.
What's the commonality? Sales? Filling the position? Well, based on what Sarah was sharing earlier, I think the answer is they're both human. And do you know a perfect human being? No, neither do I. Only God is perfect. But, okay, so they've all got their own life, their own messes, the traffic they drove through to get to work that day when you talk to them, family issues, okay. Now, a true professional is able to walk in the doors and leave their life behind and pick it back up when they go back out the doors, but not everybody's like that. The other thing is, I get the sense that many people who are looking for their next opportunity are in a defensive mindset. And no, this is your business. You are in sales and marketing, okay? This is about your life, okay? Your income, your lifestyle. So you don't need to be aggressive, but you need to be assertive and know that you're not there to answer questions, you're also there to ask questions, to have a conversation, okay, to have a dialogue. You're interviewing that company just as much as they're interviewing you as a candidate. And that's very important to keep in your mind. Whether it's ageism or anything else, is you're in charge, it's your life, you're the boss. You've got your own company right now. It's sales and marketing. And the company has your name on it, okay? So just keep that mindset. Don't be on the defensive. I'm sorry,
No, I think it's good.
It's good. How are we doing with time, John?
We got about 3 more minutes. Any other questions? You can get a second question, absolutely. But we want everybody to hear your question.
What about AI? AI is a lot of hype going on, but what's actually coming up on the job requirements? That's what I'm interested in. And where should I focus my time while I'm looking?
That's a good question.
Good question.
Great question. It depends on the industry, it depends on the job. However, most of my clients right now do not expect anyone yet to come in as a full-blown AI expert and to have solved problems with AI tools or with solutions, but they're starting to change. That is starting to be expected. It's starting to be, if they can't have the experience in it yet, they're starting to think that they want that. What my best recommendation is most of my clients want an appetite to learn AI.
Amen.
And incorporate it into the workplace in whatever that means, because every job is going to incorporate it a little bit differently. So they want employees and new employees to come in with an eagerness and an appetite to help them figure out, if they haven't already, what are we going to do? How's it going to save us money? How is it going to help our people? How is it going to make everybody more efficient? So starting to think about those things in your industry, in the job that you want. How's AI going to affect this? And how can I be ahead of the curve on starting to think about some of the solutions? How do you do that? Well, best way to do it is to, and this is what Rusty would tell everyone, start with your personal life. Start playing around with ChatGPT or Claude or whichever one you have access to. Play around with it. Start using it in your personal life. Start figuring out the functionality that makes the most sense for you. Sometimes it's vacation planning. Sometimes it's meal prepping. Sometimes it's, for me, it was my son was going through baseball recruiting, and I was like, hey, chat, this is what my son's considering. This is his age. He's a lefty pitcher. What do I know? What are other questions I need to ask? And it's, it spits it all out for you, so I don't have to think about it. You just play around with the different tools in your personal life so that you can get more comfortable with what they're capable of. Go watch Rusty's presentation if you haven't already. He will teach you how to utilize AI as a job seeker. There's all sorts of things that you can be doing to be more comfortable with it. But as of today, most job descriptions aren't going to expect someone to walk in as an expert on implementing things, but it's coming, and it is coming in the next 6 months.
I posted one last night.
Yeah.
Go through your local library, have access to LinkedIn Learning for free, Udemy, Coursera, take a class on AI. Familiar with it and start doing what Sarah just recommended. Start playing around.
Pete, the functionality that you're going, whatever direction you're going in, go and look and see what AI's got to help you improve your knowledge on where you're going. And that is where you want to focus in on when you're going in there, because when you go in, you can tell a company, hey, I did this in order to get this knowledge over here to be able to do this functionality. So AI is not going to take y'all's jobs, you guys. It ain't going to happen. And we're nowhere close to that, even right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Good question, Peter. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Javid Arain. I'm a data and analytics leader. I'm currently in a search for the right data and analytics opportunity. Javid Arain is my name. Link in with me. But I just wanted to build on one point and just to give some context. There are free courses on Google certified websites. If you just go to Google and look up free Google AI courses, there's free courses you can get, and you can get certified, you can get a badge, you can put it on your LinkedIn page, and to your point, not everyone has cracked it yet, but at least if you know more than everyone else, you can have an advantage, and it's a good starting point. Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
And if you do that, one of the strengths you can put on your resume is that you're a learner. Just saying.
Well, thank you guys so much for everyone's participation today. You can send me a LinkedIn request. I'm probably going to ignore it, and it's not because I'm mean. It just takes me a minute to get all through them, and I'm very honest about that. I typically like to get to know people, have a one-on-one conversation before I link in. I'm a different kind of recruiter than Foster, but that's just how I've been. But you can absolutely email me, and I will either set up time or get you connected with someone in the firm that makes sense. Happy to try to help and answer any questions that I can.
Thanks, Sarah.